As you guys know, we're a quarter into the year, and one of my reading goals for 2024 is to finish all of the series I'm in the middle of. So I decided to bring you along with me on this journey as I dive back into the Worlds of Unfinished series, starting with a jump back into one of my favorite fantasy realms, Letters of Enchantment. Alright guys, we have started our first book of the video, which as you can see, I'm already about 100 pages in. This cover is honestly beautiful first and foremost. I had seen the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition one, which is kind of similar to the Divine Rivals one, and I actually prefer this one, which is like the original cover, over the other one. First of all, I had to watch TikTok videos on people's thoughts on this book, spoiler free obviously, but only because I've been seeing so many mixed reviews. Like some people are saying they're bored of it, some people are saying like it didn't live up to their standards. So I was like, how am I gonna convince myself to read this book after literally being like up here with my thoughts on Divine Rivals? But I actually came across a few videos where people were just saying that it's more like politics and war, and it talks more about like Enva and Dacre rather than Roman and Iris. But I'm 100 pages in, and I have to say that it's still giving Roman and Iris for sure. It's just not dual point of view like the first book. Like right now, I'm seeing a lot of Dacre. He's definitely very involved so far, but I honestly am enjoying that because I feel like to understand more of kind of what's going on at war and all that, we kind of need that world building, and we need to know what's going on between Dacre and Enva. But so far, I'm really liking the book. It's still giving like the same feel that Divine Rivals gave me because obviously it's the same author, so I'm still really enjoying the writing. I also downloaded it on my Kobo, and I'm flying through it, just going back and forth depending on like my mood. But two of the characters in this book right now, they're being a little suspicious. But if I find out that my suspicion is true, I am going to be livid. This book has a chokehold on me. I am not understanding why most people are saying they don't like it or it's not living up to Divine Rivals. I'm loving this book just as much as Divine Rivals, if not even more. Maybe not more, but just like in a different way. I think that I'm really enjoying learning more about Dacre and Enva and what was going on there in the first place, because I feel like it was like slightly thrown into Divine Rivals, but you really didn't understand what was going on. It was just very vague, the description between the god and the goddesses and the issues they had going on. And in this book, we are still getting some Iris and Roman, even spice. So nothing crazy, of course. I don't think she goes like ham with the spice. I'm still seeing relationship evolve into something else and like grow. So when I've watched videos saying like there's not really that much Iris and Roman, I understand where they're coming from because it's not as much romance, but it's still definitely there. I'm still like enjoying seeing everything else that's going on with the war and world building and like the magic world. The magic system is very even whimsical in a sense. Like it almost even gave me a little bit of Stephanie Garber. It's like a scene where Roman is walking through like a underground thing and there's this crystals and stones, and it just gave me fairy tale-esque vibes. I literally am flying through it, obviously because I'm reading on my Kobo. I think that's helping so much. Like now I understand why people will buy the same book on their e-reader or their Kindle or Kobo, whatever, because you literally will fly through it. So I am 65% through already. Last night I read quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying this. finished Ruthless Vows. I literally, in every single clip about this book, I have said this, but I am pleasantly surprised. I feel like I was kind of hesitant to go into this book specifically because, of course, Divine Rivals is a 6-star read for me, and I read that book in my Reading the Best Books of 2023 video. So if you watch that, you would know that I was literally so obsessed, enthralled, compelled, just fascinated with that story. The moment I got my hands on this, I was just like, oh my god. My expectations are so high. After watching a few videos, I saw that most people had mixed reviews, but a lot of people were like complaining about it. Honestly, this was everything I could have asked for and more. I really did enjoy seeing more of Dacre and understanding the actual politics and why they were in the situation they were in the first place. I think that Roman and Iris were still very relevant in this book. Their romance and their relationship was just evolved at this point, and it was more so like commitment and loyalty going on rather than goo goo gaga hard eyes. Nonetheless, I think Rebecca Ross, wow, I need to read more of her books because... Now our next book is a highly anticipated read, which is the 3rd Magnolia Parks book, but the 5th in this universe, and it is Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. Okay, so I read a little bit last night and I am now 38% in. It does get repetitive, and right now I feel like last night there were a few chapters where I was like, okay, this is so repetitive. And there's a lot of Magnolia remembering the past, remembering things that happened to her in her childhood, with BJ, with Christian, Henry, the whole gang. Sometimes I do get a little bit bored reading about that, and not because it's not relevant, but sometimes okay, like I get that it's relevant at the end because Jessa Hastings has this way of like saying things in the beginning of the book and then it kind of wraps up at the end and then it makes sense. In the moment when it doesn't make sense, you're kind of like overlooking it sometimes because you're kind of like, okay, like I don't really care about this. So sometimes I do find myself kind of being like, do I really need to know this? And then maybe Jessa Hastings later on will be like, yes, you did. Like, I get the reasoning why she does it, but it just gets a little bit redundant and annoying sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I always knew Magnolia's parents were unlikable, but in this book, it's like emphasized by 1,000 how unlikable and bad her parents are. Like, they're just not good parents. And it's annoying. I don't know if I can tolerate these emotions right now. Magnolia is like going at it with her parents, and it's just, there's too much. There's too much trauma, there's too much resentment, there's just so much going on, and it's so difficult for me to process all of this. Take a moment. Look at how I decorated my Kobo. It is so cute. I literally took almost 3 hours deciding on the perfect placement because I wanted it to be like perfect because I know I'm not going to change it anytime soon, I don't think. Gets in Jonah's face like nothing. They get so aggressive, I cannot deal. Y'all, it is unboxing time because I literally went to my car to grab a Celsius. This is the Magnolia Parks book. Oh my god, I'm so scared. When I opened it, I saw the back. This was my view. Oh gosh. I am crying. It is so beautiful. I was literally watching a TikTok earlier of people like bashing this cover, saying that it's terrible, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Guys, just a little update on Magnolia Parks. I am still reading it on my Kobo because it's just quicker and easier, especially with like a thicker book like this, and I honestly want to keep it perfect. I feel like once I start getting a little towards the end, I'll probably read a little bit in the book. I am 70% in. I don't know what I was trying to say. I am 70% in, so I've read a lot since the last time I checked in. I always feel like I just can't say too much with the second, third, fourth, etc. book in a series, which this is the 5th book in this world, and I don't want to spoil anything. But I feel like the people that have matured in this book are not the people that I expected to mature, and the people that I thought would mature a little haven't matured as much as I would have liked them to. I'm not gonna say names. Also, they have like really emphasized how crappy this one character is in this story, which I didn't expect to hear from so much or see so many scenes on. It has been a ride. I have to say, I don't think so far it's not like my favorite Magnolia Parks book. So far, that can change. I still have 30% of the book left, but a lot of it feels like it's just kind of wrapping it up, which it is technically. It just kind of gives that like not epilogue feel, but almost, you know what I mean? Like it's getting to its like final, it's like the finale of the movie. Why do I love BJ in this book? And BJ and Magnolia are not my favorite. If you know, you know. Like, I love Christian and Daisy, but I said this in one of my earlier clips, but this was not my favorite Magnolia Parks book. And it's because it was more of a, not a long epilogue, but just like the finale, the ending of a story and these characters. And so there wasn't a lot of plot, like there was some, but it was more, this book had a lot of family heavy triggering topics. It wasn't so much, there were things between BJ and Magnolia, but like the most heaviest parts of this book was dealing with family and parents and all of that. I feel like it's a 4-star because anything in this world automatically starts at 3 stars. And since it wasn't my favorite Magnolia Parks book, I can't give it a 5-star. Like the first Magnolia Parks book was a 4.75 or a 4.5 for me. But I don't know, I also felt like the ending was pretty predictable for me, at least. I kind of saw it coming. And don't get me wrong, I was like definitely hooked most of the time. I think at around 66-68% of the book I started getting bored, which yeah, it was a little boring for me, not gonna lie. It's because again, it's like the ending of these characters, so it wasn't too like plot driven. It was more like saying goodbye to these people. And it was like bittersweet for sure, but I'm like more interested in Daisy Hate's next books because yeah, this didn't do anything crazy for me, but I did enjoy my time. I loved being in the world. Jessa Hastings did a great job. Regardless, I just feel like yeah, wasn't giving like the other ones, the other books gave. Nonetheless, I still recommend you read it. Like everything in this series is literally everything. This was a really long Magnolia Parks book. I think this was longer than The Long Way Home, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I think I sounded a little negative in this review. Don't get me wrong, I really did love it. Like now that I'm like, because it's been a few weeks now since I read it, and I'm looking through it, and some very interesting things actually did happen, but amongst the family, like Magnolia's family, a lot of crazy things did happen for sure. And that's why I was hooked, and I was taking my time reading this book. I think it took me a little bit over a week to read it. I was taking my time. I didn't really want it to finish. I think that I'm gonna enjoy Daisy's book more, which I feel like I typically do. It's bittersweet to say bye to these characters, and I can't believe that there's not gonna ever be another Magnolia Parks book ever again. But yeah. And then the final series I was able to finish was the Once Upon a Broken Heart series with A Curse for True Love. Okay guys, so I did start A Curse for True Love a few days ago. I did get to chapter 4, and I have to say that I'm not understanding why we're getting Apollo's point of view. Like, I don't know. I wasn't expecting the book to start the way it did. I'm a little confused, but I also think it's because I haven't read any books in this world in a long time. Like, the last time I read The Ballad of Never After was summer of last year, so that probably explains why I'm so confused. But I love Stephanie Garber's writing, and I'm enjoying it. I think that I still have a lot more to read to really give a solid opinion. This is just a little check-in, because it has been a few days since the last time I got on the camera. I don't know how this is gonna go. Let's see. Okay guys, a few updates. Tatsumi's over there looking outside the sliding door. I am not too far in. I'm on page 87. I believe this is chapter 8 or chapter 9. I feel like just now, like these last 2 chapters is when I started feeling that like whimsical Stephanie Garber Once Upon a Broken Heart vibe. I feel like the first few chapters before that, it was a little dull for me, a little boring, but I think it has to do with the fact that I haven't read The Ballad of Never After, Once Upon a Broken Heart in a while. Like, I haven't been in this world in a long time, so it's kind of taking me a long time to get familiar with some of the characters again. But now I'm finally getting a little more intrigued. Now there's a little mystery going on, and I'm like, okay, now this is picking up. I actually didn't show this earlier when I read it. This little expert in the newspaper reminded me of The Ballad of Never After and Once Upon a Broken Heart. I was like, now I remember why I love this world and I love these books. Alright guys, I feel like I needed to have this on or get this on camera. I think this is the first time I try strawberry guava. Why am I drinking this? To have an anxiety attack later? Potentially. I just wanted to get on here real quick because I am just too nosy, too curious, and I needed to check something in A Curse for True Love. A lot of people, when this book first came out, had mixed reviews because of the fact that we didn't get enough of Jax in it. Who knows? Finally got to one of his chapters, and I had to go through the entire book to read or check how many chapters he even has in this book. If you don't want to know, just skip through this part and I'll put the timestamps on the screen. But can you believe that he only has, I think it was 4 chapters or 5 chapters? Excuse me? Okay, my cat is going crazy. But anyway, like, what? I don't know how I feel about that. And it gets me thinking, like, is it just because us readers just got obsessed with the enemy and not the person that we were supposed to root for? I feel like Apollo was not the one that we were supposed to root for in the beginning either. Like, I'm so confused right now. I'm enjoying the book, the story already. But now I'm like, is this going to change my review? I'm so confused as to how this is gonna go. Like, I have no idea how this is going to end. finished A Curse for True Love, and I have to say that I am so surprised that I loved it as much as I did, only because there were so many people that were so disappointed in this book, and I cannot relate. I feel like in the beginning, as you saw in the first few clips, I was like kind of confused as to why we were getting Apollo's point of view and not Jack's right away, but I feel like people were saying we didn't get enough of Jack's, and I feel like we got more than enough towards the end. If it were to bother you that you get him more so in the end rather than like throughout the whole story, I would understand why you're gonna feel some sort of way about it, but I actually loved it. I really thought I was gonna get like no Jack's, and that's why I was like so confused. But to be honest, I literally loved this book. I rated it 4.5 stars. I did not think this ending was gonna be the way it was. I really did not. So I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm so happy that I finally got through to this book, because it's literally been in my TBR since 30 came out, and I even annotated it. So it looks so cute. And the annotations are like purple, and I just annotated so much. Like I wrote all over this book. The quotes. Stephanie Garber's writing is just everything. I loved this book so much. I personally feel like, actually no, I was gonna say Ballad of Never After was like, I like this one more, but that's not true. I did rate the Ballad of Never After. I don't remember if I rated this like 4.5 or 4 stars. The ending is what made this not be a 5-star for me, and this was a 5-star for everybody. I literally ate this up in like 3 days, I think it was. I literally took 3 days, but on Goodreads it says like 11 days because I read 2 other books in between this. But listen, once I was hooked, I was hooked. The first like 60 pages were a little slow for me, but once it picked up, it did not stop. So 100% recommend if you're hesitant like I was. Please pick it up. It's so worth it. I love this world so much. There's like a little hint at the end that I think she is going to make more books, just not with these characters. So that's awesome. And yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed picking it and reading some of my favorite books out of my favorite series, to be honest. So yeah, I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!